One of the most common questions I get from young rugby league players looking to improve their game is how can I get faster? And it's honestly right near the top, if not at the top, the number one question players and often their parents ask me. So why do they ask that? What is it about speed and being faster? Why does everyone want it? And if they already have it, why do they want even more of it? To quote one of my mentors, the great Canadian strength coach Charles Poliquin, speed is king. That's why. Everyone knows it, and there's not a player who wouldn't love to have more of it. So the question is, can anyone get faster? The answer is yes, absolutely. But can anyone get really fast? I'm talking lightning speed. The kind of speed that means anytime there's the smallest of gaps on an edge, you burn down the sideline like Addo Carr, leaving everyone in your dust. Or the kind of speed and acceleration that means you can go from 0 to top speed in what seems like 3 or 4 steps, like a bullet out of a gun, just like Reece Walsh or Ezra Mam. The answer is no, unfortunately it doesn't work like that. Being super quick, and I'm talking real express pace, comes down to one factor and one factor alone, and that's picking the right parents. Or in layman terms, it's your genetics, bro. But is it possible to work on your speed and see a massive improvement? Absolutely it is. We've done it with dozens of young rugby league players. And if you listen right through to the end of the video, I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to be doing to become as fast and explosive as you possibly can be. And it's as simple as maxing out 4 key areas. But first, I want to briefly touch on sprinting technique and working with a sprint coach. So, is it beneficial to work with one? Absolutely, because they'll be working on all kinds of aspects of your running technique that will help you improve stride length, stride frequency, your rate of force development, and a whole bunch of other aspects. But the sad truth is, it's just not practical for most people. Good sprint coaches are few and far between, expensive, and even when you do find one, they're hard to even book in because their books are usually full. And while all the technique improvements that they're looking to make with you are valuable, they're not going to have anywhere near the impact of improving your running speed as following the 4 areas. So, what are the 4 areas that, if you max them out, you're going to max out your speed and acceleration? Number 1 is getting lean. Number 2 is getting strong. Number 3, becoming flexible. And number 4 is running fast frequently. So let's break each one down in a little more detail so you know exactly what you need to do. Firstly, getting lean. You've got to get as lean as you can. There's a thing you'll notice about top level runners in any running based sport. They are all very lean. If you look at 100 meter sprinters, 400 meter sprinters, marathon or even ultra marathon runners, every single one of them has got clearly defined abdominals. Every single one of them is lean. Why? Because body fat slows you down. It's basic physics. You can't flex fat. It provides no force generation whatsoever. When it comes to speed, body fat is a literal anchor slowing you down. Players often ask what's the biggest bang for your buck area to work on to improve your speed. And if I had to pick one, it would be to lower your body fat levels. Far and away, it's the easiest way to see a massive improvement in your speed in a short period of time. Now, if you're already lean, then your focus needs to be elsewhere. But if not, if your body fat level is higher than it should be for the position you play on the field, then that's where your focus needs to be right now. The second area you need to focus on is you've got to get strong. To put simply, the stronger you get, the more force you can apply to the ground. Let's use the top runners again in this analogy. Let's compare the physiques of 100, 200, 400 meter runners, the guys that are a lot stronger with a lot more muscle. Let's compare them to 1500 or even marathon runners. One group of these athletes can run very fast, the other can run all day. Now, while rugby league is definitely a sport that requires a fairly high level of cardiovascular fitness to excel, as we mentioned earlier, speed is king. And if speed is king, then strength is definitely queen. The ability to apply force to the ground, to accelerate, decelerate, and change direction will all be significantly impacted by your strength levels. If you want to get faster, if you want to become more powerful, get in the gym and get stronger. Now, the third area you need to be working on if you want to max out your speed is your flexibility and mobility. Earlier, I mentioned that one of the benefits of working with a speed coach is there's certain drills and adjustments to your running technique that they'll put you through with the goal of increasing your stride length. And yep, they can work really well, but they won't work at all if you're tight. In fact, the easiest way to increase your stride length is simply to increase the range of motion in your hip, in the hip joint itself, so you can actually increase your stride length. So how do you do that? You increase the flexibility in all of the musculature that crosses the hip joint. Your hip flexors, your hamstrings, your glutes, your adductors. You work on mobilizing those areas, which will increase your range of motion, which by extension increases your stride length, right? Okay, so we understand we need to stretch. We understand that this will increase our range of motion, which in turn will increase our stride length. But Joe, why do I need to increase my stride length? Well, because, believe it or not, greater stride length equals greater acceleration. You want to be taking less steps on takeoff, not more. Unfortunately, there's been this idea that's proliferated that you want to be taking small, sharp steps. And this has been exacerbated by people watching reels of in-shape athletes using agility ladders with fast feet. Agility ladders will not give you fast feet, nor will it increase your acceleration and your speed. Increasing your stride length so that you can take 6 steps instead of 8 over 10 meters is what will make you faster. And to do that, your body needs to be capable of taking longer strides. So go and work on your flexibility. The fourth and final area you need to work on is actually running fast and doing it frequently. When it comes to training speed and acceleration, it needs to be done when you're fresh. It needs to be done at or very close to your max speed. You need to have sufficient rest in between efforts or in between reps, and you need to do it multiple times per week. Now let's address each of those independently. You need to train speed when you're fresh. What that means is that your speed and acceleration should be the first thing that you do within a session or within a workout. You want to do it when your body is fresh and when your nervous system is fresh. This also means you don't want to be doing it the day after doing weights or even the day after you've trained legs. So let's say you schedule a lower body weight session on a Tuesday morning. The perfect time to be doing your speed work would be the Monday before, the day before your lower body weight session. Next, you need to train at or very close to your max speed. There's a training principle called the SAID principle. It stands for specific adaptation to imposed demands. So basically what that means is your body will adapt to the kinds of stress that you place on it. So if you tell your body whenever you run, you need to run fast, it will learn that and it will become better at running fast. Everyone has seen this before in their own life. Let's say you haven't done too much training during an off season, and then when you come back to pre-season, you're a little bit out of shape. You train hard and you feel a little bit sore and tired after the first session, but it's not until the next day that you're thinking, oh my gosh, what have I done to my legs? They're not used to it, but 2 or 3 weeks later, you're no longer sore because your body has adapted to the demands of the training. It's the same with sprinting. When you're training for speed, you need to run as fast as you can. Next, you need to make sure you have sufficient rest period between efforts or reps. When training speed, yes, you're training your muscles, but primarily you're training the nervous system. And in the same way that if you're in the gym looking for strength and power movements, you have to have longer rest periods between sets. When training for speed, you need to have longer rest periods between reps because the nervous system needs more time to recover. So for an example, let's say you're performing 6 sets of 15 meters. Don't run the 15 meters, walk back, and then just go again. That's not training speed. It will train speed endurance and you might get some cardio benefit from it, but it's not what's going to really max out your speed. A good rule of thumb is 30 to 45 seconds rest for every 10 meters covered. So a 45 to 60 second rest would be adequate for a 15 meter sprint. If you're running a series of 40 meter sprints, you're looking at 2 to 3 minute rests between each effort. That's how you train speed. And finally, you need to be sprinting at least a couple of times a week. Again, looking at the SAID principle that we mentioned earlier, if you want to be able to run fast in a game, you need to be running fast frequently in training. The reason that I say twice per week is that'll be a sufficient frequency to stimulate the body to get faster without overtraining. Remember that you are a rugby league player, you're not a sprinter, so there are other training demands that are going to be placed on the body that you need to account for. So remember, if you want to max out your speed and acceleration, the 4 areas you need to be working on are getting lean, getting strong, becoming flexible, and running fast frequently. If you pay attention to these 4 areas, you'll see just how fast you can become. Trust me, because I'm Joe, and Joe knows.